All right, first and foremost, before I begin, all praise, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and to all you sincere brothers pushing out this word and continuing to labor in his work in hopes of being a part of that righteous number, which is the elect. I say shalom. And that's what I want to get into in this lesson, the elect, and the fact that the elect being sealed is pretty much a process, all right? You know, it's not like you could just hear the word and you believe now you're a part of the elect. You got to actually digest the word and grow, all right? Pretty much to be a part of the elect, you got to be a full age in the spirit, all right? Because when you hear this word, you are born again as a newborn babe, but you also got to grow, all right? That's why it tells you in the parable about a city that's set in a place of difficulty, where there's fire on one side and a deep water on the other side. And the only way you can really travel that path is you're full age. If you set a baby on that narrow path, then what's gonna happen? He's gonna wobble and fall. And that's why you got a lot of guys to fall out of this truth, because they never became, you know, fully persuaded in the truth, or came to their full age in the spirit. They was babes. It tells you that in Ephesians 4 and 14, that we henceforth, you know, no more be children tossed to and fro. All right? So to become the elect, you got to really, you know, grow into the full age in the spirit. All right? Which we believe that the elect could pretty much be sealed. So I just want to jump right into it. This is Hebrews 5 and 14. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Now, I want to go into this word for full age, all right?
Strong's G 5046. Teleos. Teleos.
So it says, brought to its end, finished, wanting nothing necessary to completeness. Perfect, all right? That which is perfect. Consummate human integrity and virtue of men, full grown, adult, full of age, mature, all right? Which means in the spirit, you come to your completion. And that's not a foreign thing to digest, man, a concept to digest. Why? Because when you consider the works of the Most High, whether it's a baby being born, it don't come right out of the womb speaking, all right, or eating. If you plant a seed, it don't just pop right out of the ground, a full-grown tree. It actually has to grow into its completeness and its perfection. And that's the same in this truth, all right? When you come into this truth, you just can't believe the truth and just fall back. You got to actually grow in this truth, man. And that's when you're sealed, all right? For an example, if you take a cup, let's just say the cup represents your body, and you take water, which represents the word, and you pour water in it. If it only get to like a quarter fill and you stop pouring, or the cup get knocked down or whatever, then it hasn't been completed. But if you fill that cup up to the rim, then what? It's sealed, all right? For an example, that's why King David said, my cup runneth over, man. Because when you come into this truth, you got to actually grow into your perfection and come into fullness of age in the spirit. And that makes you actually sealed, all right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and chapter 3 and verse 6. I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase. Right, and what's that increase? The growth, you know? So once that seed is planted, it gets watered, but what's next? It got to grow into its fullness. It got to grow into its full perfection, man. All right? This is the book of Romans, chapter 4, verse 21. And being fully persuaded that what he had promised, he was able to perform. All right? So I want to look up at this word fully, because don't the scripture tells you that every man shall be fully persuaded in his own mind? All right? And again, it says to bear or bring full, to make full, to cause a thing to be shown to the full, to fulfill the ministry in every part, to carry through to the end, accomplish. That's why Yahweh Shah said, he that endured to the end, all right? Things that have been accomplished, to fill one with any thought, conviction, or inclination. Yeah, just like the analogy I brung up about filling up a cup. When you come into this truth, you got to be brung to perfection, man, all right? You got to come to full age in the spirit, to make one certain, to persuade, convince one, to be persuaded, fully convinced or assured, all right? So pretty much the elect is going to be a full age in the spirit, man, all right? You're not going to have any men to come into this truth and basically have some of the doctrine, all right? Or they're going to still have doubts. No, they're going to be fully, they're going to come to the full understanding and assurance of these scriptures. They're going to grow, man, all right? The scripture tells you that those who have been weaned from the breast. So you can't continue as a baby in this truth. You got to grow to full age, and that what seals you, all right? So I want to end off on one last scripture. This is Matthew chapter 13. It's like it's taking some time to load up. All right. All right. So this is Matthew 13. And I start at verse 3. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where there had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. Now, what I want to focus on is the ones that fell on good soil. All right? Now, Yahweh Shah actually broke down what that parable meant, and I'm going to go to the part where he went into the good seed. All right? He says, this is Matthew 13:23. But he that receives seed into good ground is he that heareth the word and understand it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some 100, some 60, and some 30. All right? So what is this going into? It's going into the fact that it growed, man. It came into its fullness. It came into its full blossom. And that's the mindset you got to know, that, you know, when you come into this truth, you're not to be stagnant or just stay in one stage. You got to grow into a full age. And once you're into that full age, you're sealed, man. You sealed at that point, all right? Because once you are a full age, can't nobody convince you, man. Again, that's why it tells you in Ephesians 4:14, not being children tossed to and fro. Because a child is pretty much indecisive in opposed of a grown man. Like they tell you in the world, you know how niggas say in the world, look, I'm a grown man, you can't tell me nothing. And that's how you got to be in this truth. You got to go to that full age and be fully convinced, all right? And stand firm. And you can only do that when you come into the full age spiritually, all right? Thus, the elect. The elect is going to be of full age in the spirit. They're not going to be babies, man, in this thing. Because, hey, how could a baby walk that narrow path? He can't stand on his own, too. He's going to wobble and fall. Or he's going to have to be carried carried on that path. And we know that the parables say that path is so narrow that only one man can travel at a time. All right? So we are not to carry anybody into the kingdom. It's going to be every man for itself. All right? And you got to be of full age to take that journey, which is the elect. So I hope this lesson was edifying until the next time I say shalom.